Today's message is kind of it was one of those messages, God, don't be surprised at what happens today. I have no real idea. God gave me some stuff, and he said, bring this, and Janet will even tell you the PowerPoint changed, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, and God said, no, that's no good, just turn that off, come back tomorrow morning, and I'll give you something for that. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful to be in the midst of that, and to surrender to that, and say, God, you do what you want to do, and however you want to do it. And the thing that makes that so wonderful is because it kind of speaks to a person's faith. Think about it. When you kind of just get to the point where you go, you know what, I don't know, and you go, my hands are off. That's a big step. That's a step that says, God, I have faith that you know what's going on here and that you can do it. Faith is a tricky thing. It really is, because there's kind of this little circle, this little catch-22. You got to have faith. Well, how do you get faith? You have to, in order to really acquire faith, you have to believe. Well, how do you believe? Well, you just have to have faith. It's one of those things that kind of goes back and forth. And you go, well, wait a minute. How do you do that? You know, one of the things that I would tell you about faith is just simply this. You have to trust. You have to take your hands off. Faith, the very definition of faith is believing in something that either you cannot prove or that has such circumstances that you can't explain it. Let me ask you this. How many people have ever been and visited Mount Rushmore? You visited Mount Rushmore. Anybody been to the pyramids in Egypt? You haven't been to the pyramids in Egypt. Let me ask you this. How do you know they exist? Oh, pictures? Somebody told you that they existed? So, essentially, you're going on faith that the pyramids are there. You've been to Mount Rushmore, you've experienced it, you saw it. Jenna says Mount Rushmore is there. You guys believe her? You haven't seen it. So you're what? You're going on faith that what she says is true. But she's a mere person. She's not God. Why would you believe her? Anybody been to the Golden Gate Bridge? Does it exist? For those of you who haven't been there, do you believe it exists? Why? You've never seen it. You're going on the word of somebody or pictures that somebody put up. And we all know you can doctor pictures. But you're going on what? On faith that exists. A lot of arguments about God are based around, well, I've never seen him. But there are those who have, and those who have experienced him. So what is the difference between going on faith and what they experienced or they saw, or going on faith to what your sister, your neighbor, your co-worker, or someone else says they saw? In Proverbs it says, and a lot of us are familiar with this, in Proverbs 3, Proverbs 3, verse 5 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. Now that's a pretty strong statement. That's going what? That is faith. Trust in the Lord. And it says to trust in him what? With all your heart. To give it all over to him. Not trust a little bit, but it says trust him with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Well, you know what? I don't know how the pyramids were built. I just know they're there. Have I seen them? No, but I have faith that they exist because of reports of it. Not leaning on my own understanding. Not trying to figure out how they were built. Just the fact that they are. You know what? I don't know exactly how God works and everything, but I just know he does. If I can believe in something as materialistic or something that is actually in the physical plane of a pyramid, why is it so difficult for some of us to believe in a higher power that maybe gave that knowledge and wisdom to be able to create that pyramid? Why can't we take it the next step? Why do we have trouble getting stuck on our belief? Why is we are able to believe in some things and to have faith in some of the things that God speaks to us about, but not everything. See, the word says to trust in God with all your heart. It says you can't have a piece of faith here and a piece of faith there and a piece of faith there with all these gaps in between. See, because if you really know the definition of faith, that's really not faith. Faith is believing it all the way through, from beginning to end. See, because also in Proverbs, in chapter 9, find it. In verse 10, it says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Well, it says not to lean on your own understanding. Okay, so I need to get understanding. In order for me to have trust in God, I need to have this understanding. Where do I get it from? Oh, it goes right back to the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. That means standing in His awe and saying, you know what, I understand who He is. So that is the fear which is speaking. That's the beginning of wisdom. And the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. So if I'm not to lean on my own understanding, then I need to have some knowledge of God to be able to lean on His in order to have faith. Well, it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The beginning. Understanding who He is. Oh, for that, go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. See, here's how faith begins, right here at the beginning. Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Do you believe that? See, because if you can't get past that, you're not going to get past anything else. See, you have to go off that very first. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. If you can grab that, if you can grab a hold of that, and you say, yes, this is truth, it's going to make it much easier to believe everything else. See, if you can't comprehend or you can't agree with God creating the heavens and the earth, you're not going to agree with anything else that's in here. Faith begins with that one line. God created the heavens and the earth. That's faith 101. That's at the beginning, the start. I thought about that. I don't know exactly where my faith started or when it started. I don't know what point in my life that I actually believed that verse, but I'm so glad and grateful that I did. And it's been a journey since then, increasing my faith. Because we talk about that all the time. You hear that, increase my faith. I hear people come up to me and go, how do I increase my faith? Well, don't come to me. Go to God and His Word. Because it starts out in the beginning. God created the heavens and earth. I would think that everything He has after that is what you need to know. Oh, we can walk together. I can tell you what I believe. I believe all of this. Because I'm able to get past that first one. See, whenever we witness to people, they have a hard time getting past that. They'll tell you, you talk to scientists, they'll tell you, well, dark matter. Dark matter is the beginning of the universe. Well, have you seen it? No. Well, how do you know it exists? I just do. Well, God created the heavens and the earth. Really? Have you seen Him? No. I just know He exists. Okay, you want to have more arguments? Let's go. We went nowhere with that one. How is it you're able to believe in something you haven't seen except for God? I'm always amazed at that. The argument always goes back to, I haven't seen God. There's a lot of things you haven't seen. Science is based on theory, and that's someone's ideas of how things may have occurred. We have proof of how things really did occur. And you could say, well, you're depending upon the book. Go back to Easter's sermon where I showed you that this is the truth. If this is the truth, then there should be no problem getting past this first line. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. See, understanding where that verse said to stand in fear of God, understanding that God created the heavens and the earth, to stand in front of somebody, to stand in the midst of somebody that has the power to do that, really kind of puts things in perspective. If somebody has that much control over something, that anything that goes on in my life is nothing in comparison My life is not as complicated as creating the heavens and the earth. My job situation is not as complicated as creating the heavens and the earth. My relationship is not as complicated as creating the heavens and the earth. Nothing is as complex as creating the heavens and the earth. And if God can handle the complexity of that, and we've talked about this before, you just take a blade of grass, look at it under a microscope, you go, wow, he put all that together. Yes, all those working parts in a single blade of grass. If he can handle that, then anything that I have in my life is simple by comparison. So why do you have faith? Well, I have faith in the one who created the heavens and the earth. And I believe everything else, as long as my understanding is to try to seek God's understanding, to seek his wisdom, to seek what he knows. That's faith. When you want your faith to grow, find out what God knows. Go to the source. You know, people want to get a higher education, they go to colleges. They don't stay in kindergarten and go, where's my master's? No, you want to grow in your knowledge, you've got to go to the source that has that knowledge. That's God, and that means you have to believe what he says and what he has for you. It's not really that complicated. You know, people try to make faith out to be more complex than it really is. Faith is simply believing in the unseen. If you don't believe me in that, you can turn over to the book of Romans, chapter 10. Starting in verse 14. The simple question that's posed. Romans chapter 10, verse 14. For those of you who have been in Bible study, you know we covered this not long ago. It says, how then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? How will they believe in him whom they have not heard? And how will they hear without a preacher? And how will they preach unless they are sent? Just as it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news of good things. You want other people to have faith. You want other people to believe. Unless we spread the word, unless we talk about our belief, our faith, they'll never know. And we speak because we believe. We speak because we have experienced God. See, you know, it talks about, a lot of people say, well, if you're looking just for miracles and stuff like that, well, God did those miracles. Well, he's not doing any miracles now. Yes, he has. Look around, see the lives that are affected by him and the things that have occurred in them. If people really want to see signs, they just look a little different than they did in the Bible. Oh, sure, it may not be leprosy that you're seeing in front of you or sort of the blind being cured by someone right in front of you, but look at the lives that have been touched here alone, and you'll see the miracles and workings of God. Those are signs and wonders. If you want to know if God is real and is he really doing something, is he really working, is he really present? Yes. Everybody here has some sort of testimony to give about something that's occurred in their lives that God has either got them through, got them around, got them over, or just simply moved it out of the way. That is nothing that you did. Well, how did it happen? It happened by the one who created the heavens and the earth. Those things were too big for you and I to handle, and God said, got it. Let me just take care of that. We have limitations, God does not. When you can come to terms with that, then your faith will grow, because you'll start to see God manifested in ways you'd never experienced before, because now you'll find yourself seeking him and looking for him. See, that's how it begins. Once you've experienced God, you'll start to look for him more. Because why? Anything he does is glorious, and you'll want to be in the midst of it. So you'll be like, what else you got, God? What else is going on? I got to get into that. I got to get in the middle of that. See, whenever God is working, it's great. It's joyful. People are like, woo! You listen to praises. We're laughing. We're nice and relaxed during praise time. People are going, wait, I got something. I got a jewelry box. When we're going, woo, for the jewelry box. And we're getting all excited about that. And we start talking about other things that God gives us. We want to be in the middle of it. Yeah. Pretty soon you're sitting there going, I got to raise my hand too. See, you're in the middle of it. And and it's exciting, and it makes you feel good. Anybody here feel bad after we had praises? No, I don't think so, because you're in the midst of God. You're in the midst of him doing things. You don't think God is around? Listen to the praises. He's moving. He's working. You want to see signs and wonders? Listen to the praises. Amen. Even for small things like a necklace. Faith 101, looking at the smallest of things, acknowledging where it came from. We don't have to just acknowledge the heavens and the earth because they're so big. We can acknowledge the smallest things that God does. Remember, he made a single blade of grass. That's a small thing, but when you put them all together, you've got this beautiful pasture. Because he works in everything, bringing it together. In your life, he does this little thing. If you think this little thing is just a little thing, wait until he does the next little thing and puts it together. And then he takes the next little thing and puts it together. And the next little thing and puts it together. And the next thing, and pretty soon you're going, oh my gosh, this is huge. The change that he's made in me, the things that he's done, the things he's working in. I thought it was just this, but look at this, and this, and this, and this. And you start putting it together, and it's absolutely astounding. Your faith grows because you start being aware of what God is doing. Faith comes from being able to identify God in your life. Acknowledging him. Not just the creator of the heavens and earth, but even for the clothes you're wearing, for the necklace you've got, for the home you're living in, for the glasses you're wearing, for the paper on the books that the Bible, his word is printed on, that you are so grateful that you can read. Think of to have nothing. To have nothing. See, we need to acknowledge that God is in the middle of everything and all things. And when you realize that, you start to embrace the other things that he has for you. You start to be able to recognize and see and acknowledge those things. And your faith does grow because you see God. You know he's ever present. Think about it. Even in difficult times, who do you think is going to get you through those difficult times? See, so when you do get through them, and at the end you're going, oh, he was there. And I didn't even know it. Of course he was. You just weren't looking for it. See, we all too often go on our own wisdom, our own knowledge, to try to get through things. That's like our first step. Oh no, this happened. Let me see what I can do. Everything, I'm in the habit now in my life where I used to kind of get all excited, rah, rah, rah. Pretty much the point right now where I just got to go, okay, God, what you going to do here? Every step of the way. It's all right, God, what are you going to do here? I've explained before that today is just a moment. All right, God, what are you going to do in this moment? Because I know there's going to be a next moment, and guess what? You're going to be there too. Everywhere I go, you're going to be. And if I don't see you, it's because I'm not looking for you. If we take our eyes off him, yeah, our faith will wane. If we don't get in the midst of him and stay there, we're going to lose our faith. That's why it's important when we come together. Whether we gather in fellowship, whether we gather in Bible study, whether we gather eating at a restaurant, it's good to be in the midst of God. And you go, well, wait a minute, is God at the restaurant? Sure, if I'm there with Chris and Lisa, God's there with us. Because does Christ live in us? If we've accepted him, guess what? He's there. I love being able to sit and talk to other brothers and sisters because God comes out. Why do you think Chris and I spend 2-3 hours in a parking lot? It's not because of something that Chris is saying or I'm saying. It's what's coming through us and out of us that God is revealing. We get caught up in the God stuff. We're not, I'm going to tell you what, this last week was the first week that we actually got off track a little bit. We started talking about other things that from our past that kind of made us happy, we were laughing about. We're talking about old-time actors and stuff, and that was good, though, because we were fellowshipping together, we were laughing together. But otherwise, we get together, and it's God 101, God 102, 103, 104. What time is it? Time to go. It's 105. But it's great. You don't want to get away from it. And then when you do, you're kind of like, I miss it. And you guys went on vacation. What'd you say? No Bible study, no church for 2 weeks. Oh my gosh. Once you get in the habit of being around God, you don't want to be separated from him. But you have to want to be there. You've got to take that step. You can't just say, God, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. He goes, okay, sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. How about that? See, because if you look at 2 Chronicles, I believe it's, chapter 15, the prophet Azariah is talking to Asa, and he tells me, he says, the Lord is with you and you are with him. It says, he will let you find him if you seek him. If you seek him, he will let you find him. God is with you when you are with him. But he also ends that with, if you forsake him, he will forsake you. Guess what? You turn away. You can't expect him to just follow you like a little lapdog. Hey, God, I'm going to go do my own thing for a while. You want to come with? Come on. You'd be like, nope. Come back when you want to do my thing. And we always do. I don't care who you are. For the most part, I would probably guess at this percentage, but I would say the greater percentage of people who turn away from God eventually come back than those who don't. Yes, there is a percentage who don't come back, but there's a greater percentage that does return because you kind of come to terms with the fact that things were a lot better when I was with him. In Matthew, which we are in Bible study, in Matthew, we're going to kind of take a little step ahead of where we're going to be. In Matthew chapter 14, in verse 22, we know this story. We've heard this story. Is this a story about learning how to swim? Is this a story about a miracle of doing something that's impossible? It's a story of Jesus walking on the water. That's what it is. It says, immediately he made the disciples get into the boat, starting in verse 22, and go ahead of him to the other side while he sent the crowds away. After he had sent the crowds away, he went up on a mountain by himself to pray, and when it was evening, he was there alone. But the boat was already a long distance from land, battered by the waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night he came to them, walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, "It's a ghost!" And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." How many times when things are starting to occur and we're kind of taken by surprise, we start to exclaim and give power to that thing that's coming at us, and we're not always able to hear God go, "Relax. It's just me. I got it. Don't be afraid." See, often we're in that boat and our faith goes kind of out when we're trying to bail. I think we bail our faith out too when we start freaking out. We're doomed. And God says, "Hey, relax. I got this. Don't be afraid." How many of us are bold enough to do what comes next? Peter said to him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." Peter says, "Tell me what to do." It wasn't Peter going, "Hey, guess what? I think I'll meet him halfway." He said, "Lord, tell me what you want me to do. Where do you want me to step?" He didn't take it on his own initiative. He waits for Jesus to tell him, "Jesus, what do you want me to do at this moment?" And he said, "Come." And Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came towards Jesus. Now, I don't know. In the movies, they kind of show Peter going, "Oh, is what's there? It's water." You know what? I don't think Peter did that. Not at all. Because I think if he had any doubt at all, he would have sank as soon as he stepped on the water. But he knew. Jesus spoke. Got it. I'm going to do exactly what you said. You said come, I'm coming. I'm not going to think about the water or anything else. So I kind of think the movie was a little wrong in that regard. I think Peter boldly got out of the boat and walked towards Jesus, trusting in him, having faith in the direction he was given, the instructions that he was given. He said, "First, let me ask, what do you want me to do?" And Jesus said, "Come here." Okay. No hesitation. So what does Peter do? He gets out of the boat. He gets out of the boat and he walks on the water towards Jesus. But seeing the wind, he became frightened. And beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." See, how many of us do that? God, can you help me with this? And God will say, yeah, here's what I want you to do. We start stepping into it, and then we take our eyes off because we think we got the whole plan. All right, God just said, he said, come to Peter. He didn't say anything else. Just come. Come here. But he started putting his eyes someplace else. Started freaking out about the wind and the waves and everything else. Lost his vision on Jesus when, boom, his faith was gone. As soon as he took his eyes off of God. And without faith, he began to sink. Without faith, you will sink. If you want the right things in life, first you need to cry out, Lord, what do you want me to do? Then you need to hear him when he says, come. And third, when he says, come, you need to go. And keep your focus solely on what he has told you. Because as soon as you go someplace else, you will sink. Because your faith is waned. Or you start to put your faith in something else. Well, my friend told me. Oh, I hear all the time. Well, my friend told me. Yeah, how's it working out for you with that? What advice are you going to take? Are you going to take advice from the one who created the heavens and the earth? Or are you going to take advice from the one who was created by the guy or person, or God rather, who created the heavens and the earth? You know, you're going to take advice from the middleman? Or are you going to get directly from the source? Where does your faith come from? Does it come from somebody else's faith? Or does it come from the faith that you have established between you and God? Faith 101, beginning. God created the heavens and the earth. Seek him out. Seek him out. This is very simple. Where it goes from there is entirely up to you. See, I can't be your faith. I can't be your Sunday faith. You can't come here and say, Pastor, give me faith. I can't do that. That's not within my power. I can have my faith. Janice can have her faith. Earl can have his faith. If you want your faith, that's between you and God. That's why they call it a personal relationship. Your faith is based on your relationship with God, your knowledge of him, your understanding. It's about getting rid of everything that you know and experiencing everything that he knows. How do you get through difficulties? Not on anything that you know how to do. How do you enjoy the moments of joy? What do I do? How do I act? How do I behave? Where do I go? Everything is based on God's direction. And it's having faith that he what? He came to destroy you? No. That's in Judges 22. Which doesn't exist, by the way. That's an old reference to an old sermon. Earl, you were here for that one. Lord, save me. He became frightened, started to sing, Lord, save me. Immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and took hold of him and said to him, you of little faith, why did you doubt? As soon as he had doubts of who God was, what he was able to do, he started to lose. You want to win? You got to have faith. You got to start at the beginning. If you can't get past the first line in the Bible, you're going to have difficulty having faith. But if you can acknowledge that he is the creator of all things, then you'll start to find it a little easier to acknowledge and be able to accept everything he does from that point forward. Oh, there was a burning bush. I never saw a bush burn that didn't burn. Huh? Of course not. But I have faith that it happened. Oh, the Red Sea parted. Boy, I tell you what, I will defend that one until I die. I wasn't there to witness it, but there are those who were, and I go on faith that God reported it as such, and I will accept it. No, I haven't seen the pyramids of Egypt, but I know they exist. No, I've never been to Mount Rushmore, but I know it's there. I've been to the Golden Gate Bridge, so I have confirmation of that. But there's been a lot of things that I haven't seen or experienced, but I know they are. But greatest thing I've ever experienced or I've witnessed is who God is and what he can do. And you know what? He's greater than the Golden Gate Bridge, and he's greater than Mount Rushmore, and he's greater than the pyramids in Egypt. But you have to start out Faith 101, believing the first thing. He is the creator of all things. I don't know if you ever hear me pray, but usually pray, but you know, a lot of times if you're paying attention, first thing I do is acknowledge who he is. It's just my habit. It keeps me in check. It makes me understand that everything that comes afterwards is just because of who he is. Every day is about the Creator loving me, although he doesn't have to. Every day is based on someone so magnificent, so awe-inspiring, so great, so mighty, that I can't help but go, what do you want me to do now? Come. Okay. Cece, you just went through a difficult time in your life. And I think you'd probably agree with me. Without God, you wouldn't be getting through those moments. Day by day, moment by moment, he's there. He's present. Gina, you're going through some difficulty. I will tell you what. Look to him. He will get you through it. He'll show you how. Everything that you seek, everything that you want, as long as you're seeking him, he will show you how. That's his promise. Seek me. Seek first the kingdom of God. Seek the things that are of him. Have faith. Trust me. See, a lot of times we say, I have faith in God, but then we don't trust him. Huh? Then do you really have faith? Or is it just very weak faith? And then shouldn't you try to seek to strengthen that faith? See, because when I was weak in faith, I allowed everything else to affect how I lived. And affect me emotionally, physically, everything. But the awareness of God and who he is and how he works and has just increased my life tenfold, if not greater. If you want something greater, you have to believe. You have to have faith, and you have to trust God. If you want your faith to increase, learn to trust. If you want to learn how to trust, seek the understanding of his word. You know, going to Bible study, that's wonderful. That's good. Don't stop there. Don't come on Sunday, expect me to give you your fix. A lot of times God's word is to us is to knock it off, get our act together, and start doing what we're supposed to do. It's not here it is. Faith 101. Assured expectance of the unseen. God, you can't see him, but you know he's present. And it's really kind of those weird things too, is, he's unseen, but I've seen him. He's been seen. I've seen him work. What do you mean he's seen his work? Have you seen him physically do something? No, but I know he did it. Well, then how are you going on something unseen if you saw God? Well, I know that he did it. How? Because I have faith. What? It can be very confusing. And that's God's word for today.